Hello, my name is Kyle Matthews from the Montreal Institute for Genocide and Human Rights Studies at Concordia University. I'm pleased to welcome you to an important book launch today. Bonjour, je m'appelle Kyle Matthews, je suis directeur général de l'Institut montréalais d'études sur le génocide et les droits de la personne à l'Université Concordia. Puis nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour le lancement d'un livre très important. Aujourd'hui, on va avoir nos deux invités. On a Shaparak Shajarizadeh, j'espère j'ai prononcé proprement, avec le nouveau livre « La liberté n'est pas un crime », qui a été écrit par Rima Elkouri, qui est un journaliste avec la Presse. So once again, we're very lucky today to have a human rights activist and a well-known journalist here in Montreal to join us for a book launch of this book here. La liberté n'est pas un crime. Liberty is not a crime. It details the personal story of a brave Iranian woman who is now in Canada, accepted as a refugee, Shaparak Shajarizadeh. Apologies if I don't spell that correctly, Shaparak. And we're joined by Rima Elkouri, who's a journalist at the French language newspaper La Presse. So we're going to be going back and forth English and French. Ça va être en anglais et français parce que Shaparak parle pas français, mais le livre est en français. So we're going to be speaking in both languages. So maybe I'd like to start is just, Shaparak, briefly tell the audience why this book was important for you, and tell the audience about your, in a brief manner, we'll go in details, but tell us about your story, what you suffered through, and how you ended up helping put this book together.
I want to take a little time to thank you all, Kyle. All this is very emotional for me because Mix Institute and your colleagues, also you and Rima, you are the among the first Canadians that I met in Canada when I landed in Montreal. And since then, you've been good supporters. You've been my great friends, and it's all because of the Raoul Wallenberg Human Rights Center and Mix Institute that I could have a platform to continue my fight and my struggle for freedom in Iran. And all of this had happened because of the people like you and your colleagues in Mix Institute, because of Professor Erwin Cutler, who's been my mentor since then, and his colleagues in Raoul Wallenberg. Also, dear Rima, for being a good friend, and she was supportive all along. When I came to Montreal, all of the things were I was very stressed. I was emotional. I didn't know what to do with my life. At the age of 33, I was feeling lost for the first time. Having those traumas a few months back, being in dilemma in Turkey, then came to Canada. It was all very emotional for me and my son, away from my husband, not knowing what's going on in my life. And I didn't know what to do. I've been to many places around the world as a tourist, but when you lose your home, when you come when you come to a country, to a new land, to start a life, it's all different. And especially when you hadn't planned anything. And when I landed in Montreal, those first days, I didn't know what to do. I was relieved that I was in me and my son especially were in a safe place, away from the Iranian government, but at the same time, I didn't know what to do. And in the first few days, I was Brandon contacted me. Brandon Silver from Raoul Wallenberg. They, I can say, they opened their arms. Also, you, and after a few weeks, when I told Raoul Wallenberg Center that I was planning to continue my activism in here and be the voice of the ones that I left behind in Iran, other women's rights activists, also my lawyer who was recently, got arrested and into prison and sent into prison. He told me that they were happy to help me, and the first human rights conference that I was invited was Mix Institute, and before the conference, I met Rima. She was willing to have an interview with me, and you know what? Among all those, I don't know. It's I cannot count the number of the journalists I had interview with. I had many interviews before my arrest when I was active in Iran during the months that I was protesting compulsory hijab with White Wednesday campaign. I had many interviews with many journalists around the world, even with a journalist from Canada. After my arrest, also I met many journalists in Iran, or I had interview with them with email or with WhatsApp. And after that, but Rima was different from the first moment when she started asking questions, and I was answering. I was very emotional and stressed, and I was crying, and she held my hands and cried with me, and told me that she could understand my struggle, that her mother also came from Middle East, and she would understand, and that was very emotional for me. And in that time, I had no idea that that bond would end up publishing my personal story. And I guess I don't know, it's all part of a big plan for me, and I'm appreciative and I'm grateful to you all.
Thank you very much, Shaparak. And for those of you who will read the book, you'll know that Shaparak took off the mandatory veil in Iran and was imprisoned, was tortured, and eventually had to flee via Turkey to make it to Canada. So she really is a human rights hero and someone who suffered for women's liberty. Maintenant, j'aimerais tourner à toi, Rima. Est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer comment est-ce que vous avez appris de Shaparak? Comment vous avez eu le premier rendez-vous? Puis comment est-ce que sa histoire vous avait donné l'idée de faire ce projet, ce livre fort intéressant sur l'histoire de Shaparak? Est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer un petit peu plus en détail?
Oui, bien sûr. Donc, en fait, c'est grâce à vous, votre institut à l'Université Concordia, que j'ai pu rencontrer Shaparak. Donc, elle était, donc à l'époque, ça faisait peu de temps qu'elle était au Canada, à Toronto. Elle vivait à Toronto. Elle est venue, elle était invitée à Montréal pour une conférence à l'Université Concordia, avec aussi le centre Raoul Wallenberg, le droit de la personne. Et donc, c'est à ce moment-là que, bon, c'est Marie Lemensch chez vous qui m'a dit, est-ce que ça t'intéresserait de la rencontrer? Et donc, j'ai fait une entrevue avec elle. Et comme elle le disait, c'était, en fait, il s'est passé quelque chose pendant cet entretien-là. J'ai tout de suite, en fait, elle était très émotive dans une situation très difficile. On a passé presque 2 heures ensemble et j'étais vraiment à la fois très touchée par son histoire, fascinée par son histoire et aussi vraiment, en fait, ce qui est ressorti de ça, j'étais vraiment impressionnée par par son courage. Donc, elle venait tout juste d'être nommée comme sur la liste des 100 femmes les plus inspirantes du monde par la BBC. Et je pense que c'est tout à fait mérité. C'était vraiment j'ai vraiment le lendemain, ma chronique dans la presse s'appelait Une femme de courage. Et donc cet article-là a attiré l'attention des éditions PLON à Paris. Donc j'ai eu un message comme ça sur Messenger d'une éditrice que je connaissais pas, qui avait lu l'article, qui avait été très touchée et impressionnée comme moi par le courage de Shaparak, et qui a dit, il me semble que là l'idée d'un livre, est-ce que ça vous intéresserait? Est-ce que vous pensez que Shaparak serait intéressé? Et c'est comme ça qu'est née donc l'idée. Moi, je trouvais que c'était une excellente idée parce que, bon, Shaparak, ce qui est de particulier dans son témoignage, évidemment, moi, j'avais déjà entendu parler du mouvement des White Wednesday, de ces femmes, donc, de ces Iraniennes qui vont dans la rue, et mouvement de désobéissance civile pacifique pour les droits des femmes, contre le voile obligatoire, plus largement pour les droits de la personne. Et donc, je trouvais que c'est un mouvement très beau, mais d'avoir ce témoignage unique donc d'une femme qui est femme ordinaire, au courage extraordinaire, qui est descendue dans la rue, qui a participé à ce mouvement-là, qui en a payé un prix très élevé pour son combat pour la liberté, qui a été obligée de fuir dans des conditions très difficiles, clandestinement, pour se rendre en Turquie, ensuite venir ici. Je trouvais que c'était une histoire importante et que Shaparak avec tout ce qu'elle avait subi, donc elle a été emprisonnée, arrêtée 3 fois, elle était en prison, je pense, et son avocate est toujours emprisonnée, Nasrin Sotoudeh est toujours emprisonnée en Iran pour l'avoir défendue. Donc, je trouvais que c'est un témoignage important qui méritait d'être entendu, et donc j'ai proposé à Shaparak de le faire, et elle hésitait au début parce que elle voulait pas se mettre à l'avant-plan. Dans cette histoire, elle veut pas jouer aux héroïnes, donc pour elle, c'est important plutôt de parler du combat des femmes qui demeurent, de parler de son avocate. Et donc, le livre est dédié à Nasrin Sotoudeh, qui est toujours en prison en Iran, condamnée à 38 ans de prison pour avoir simplement défendu les droits des femmes.
So, Shaparak, we just talked about what led to you and Rima deciding to do this book project, and it's dedicated to your lawyer who has unfortunately been in prison for a long time, which is I consider a crime against humanity. Shaparak, could you tell us about when you were first started discussing the possibility of a book? What were your concerns? Did you think this was a vehicle to tell your story to the wider world, or did you see this as an opportunity just to kind of highlight the plight of women human rights leaders in Iran? What was going through your mind?
When the first time that Rima contacted me about the book and told me about Sophie, who suggested like publishing my story, at first I was skeptical. I had no idea that the story of my life would be interesting. I wanted to tell the world about the things that is going on inside Iran, because the Iranian regime try to lie to the world about our traditions, about our customs, and about the violation of human rights. I wanted to tell the world that what is going on inside Iran. And I didn't come from a closed community. This is a story of a woman. My life is a story of a woman who lives in a metropolitan city, in a normal family, and you can imagine what's life for the women who live in small cities, in more traditional families, and worse from that in some part of the countries that women beside the Islamic regime's rule, they are under the pressure of like the tradition, the traditions, and but I wasn't sure, and Rima told me this is a good chance. PLON edition is a well-known and old and well-known publishing house in French, and she told me this is good for you to tell your story and also the story of all the Iranian women. So people would know about you, and this is gonna help you in your in your goal. And after that, to be honest, in that time I didn't have any home. I was living in my friends. My papers weren't ready, so my son in that time wasn't at the school. My life was a mess, and there was a lot going on in my personal life, and also in my in my emotionally I was under a lot. And I was separated from my husband in that time. Emotionally I didn't know what to do, and to be honest, if it wasn't for Rima and he pushed me through it, I wasn't in a situation emotionally and personally to have this story to be told. But Rima helped me like step by step. He pushed me. She contacted me like every other day, like every other week, to encourage me to take the steps with her. At the same time, she was very understanding about my situation in that time. If it wasn't for her patience and her understanding, we couldn't finish the book like on time. And the other thing is we had it like timeline. There is another woman who protested compulsory hijab, and she's writing down her story also. But she says I cannot finish it. When I go back to those like experience, I cannot continue. It was the case for me too. I couldn't repeat that stories, but because we had a timeline, and because Rima was very responsible, at the same time very very passionate, and she was very understanding, we could finish the book on time. And even for reviewing the book, because one of the problem is I can't speak a word in French, unfortunately, to be honest, but I guess I have to learn. But I couldn't speak French, and also English is not my mother tongue, and so it's my second language, and I'm not that good in English too. It was very hard to communicate, and so when she finished the book, she translated in English. She was and sent it to me to check the book, and even reading my story took a long time, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't go through those incidents again. But she was again very she was a good friend. She took every steps with me, even that time, to finish reading my story. And I'm happy that we managed to finish the book. And it's all because of Rima, and also because of Sophie and the PLON edition house to be interested in my story, and also the story, like the struggle of all the Iranian women under the oppressive rules of the Islamic regime in Iran.
Thank you, Shaparak. J'aimerais maintenant poser une question à Rima. Rima, je sais que vous avez écrit plusieurs livres, puis vous avez déjà parlé un petit peu, vous avez une relation personnelle, une grand-mère qui vient du Moyen-Orient. Alors, est-ce que votre expérience de votre famille, il y avait quelque chose de semblable dont vous avez été intéressé dans l'histoire de Shaparak? Est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer ça un petit peu en plus détail?
Oui, donc en fait, quand j'ai commencé à travailler sur le livre de Shaparak, j'étais en train de terminer un premier roman qui s'appelle Manam, qui est inspiré de l'histoire de ma famille. Donc, moi, je suis petite fille de survivants du génocide arménien. Et dans mon roman, je me suis particulièrement intéressée à l'histoire, en fait, des femmes. Donc, déjà, l'histoire du génocide arménien, c'est une histoire oubliée, mais l'histoire des femmes, du courage, de la résistance des femmes dans ce génocide, elle est encore, c'est une histoire oubliée à l'intérieur d'une histoire oubliée. Alors, même si on pourrait dire que les deux livres n'ont aucun lien, moi, j'y vois quand même un fil conducteur parce que ce soit en littérature comme en journalisme, j'aime bien mettre à l'avant-plan des histoires de femmes courageuses, inspirantes. Et quand on parle du Moyen-Orient, c'est pas quelque chose qu'on lit beaucoup, qu'on voit beaucoup, parce qu'il y a cette image très stéréotypée des femmes du Moyen-Orient comme étant soumises, passives, et alors que dans les faits, des battantes comme Shaparak, comme des femmes dans ma famille. Donc moi, ils ont survécu au génocide arménien, sont allés en Syrie, se sont établis en Syrie, et ont été finalement ont immigré ici en 1967. Mais donc, des battantes, il y en a. Et donc, ça serait important aussi de leur donner une voix, de raconter leur histoire, parce que les histoires qu'on raconte pas, ben c'est comme si elles n'existaient pas. Donc, mon intérêt aussi pour l'histoire de Shaparak vient aussi du fait que je suis toujours fascinée, en fait, moi, comme petite fille de réfugiée, je suis fascinée par le courage, la résilience de ces gens qui ont survécu à des choses atroces et qui doivent repartir à zéro, reconstruire leur vie tout en poursuivant leur combat, comme le fait Shaparak. Donc, j'aime bien donner une voix à ces femmes, à ces histoires qu'on entend trop peu.
Merci, Rima. Shaparak, I have a question for you. Some people, you've lived through a traumatic experience for your family, for you, and for your friends and your lawyers. Some people have said writing a book can be a form of therapy. It helps you express the grief you experienced, but that's not always the case. I'm wondering if you had any stories or experiences that you couldn't talk about for the book, it was just too traumatizing. I'm also wondering if there were any cases that you couldn't talk about for fear of putting anyone in Iran in danger that may have helped you or may have helped you along your journey to escape. Could you talk about this a little bit?
Yes, like during the time that we were discussing the book, like in some cases, like the people who were who were arrested in that time, or everybody knew about them. Like talking about them wasn't a problem, but I had like during my journey in those months, during those activism, I met many brave Iranian women that their like identity is not like nobody knows them. So we were careful not to mention their name, and like also the guy who helped me escape Iran. Most of the time we have to be careful about the well-being of the ones who live in Iran. And like even during the time that I was telling my story, I was very concerned about the safety of my family, my parents, and my brother. They are living in Iran. They have already been interrogated by the security forces. And part of my story, part of the story from my childhood, reveals some of the things that my parents had done, and I didn't know what to do. But I decided to tell my story because that was a big part of my life growing up. When I was 6-7 years old, we were living in fear. Not me, many Iranians, like I can say 80-90% of Iranians were living in constant fear. All the families had family members who were from dissidents, because after the revolution there were many groups who were part of the demonstration in 1979, but like Khomeini and like the Islamic group took power, and those other groups, like the left people group, the lefties, or like other some like opponent, like some dissident groups, they were fighting the Islamic regime at those first years, and like they suppressed all those groups and people. So in every family they had some people who were being chased by the government, or they were killing many people, especially young people, inside prisons. They kill them in the streets. They kill them in the prison. So all all families were living in fear, and my family did something that was courageous. I know that, but at the same time, as a kid, me and my sister, who is like 1 year younger than me, we were living in fear because of the things that like the great things that my parents had done. I was not sure to tell the story, but at the end I told a little part of the story of my parents.
Thank you, Shaparak. Rima, si j'ai bien compris, vous avez traduit le livre déjà en anglais. Alors, vous avez une copie qui est en anglais. Alors, s'il y a des éditeurs qui nous regardent dans le monde anglophone, peut-être qu'ils pourraient vous approcher, je ne sais pas.
Oui, c'était pas... Mais ça serait formidable que ce livre-là soit traduit en anglais, parce que, bon, évidemment, Shaparak, elle parle anglais, et donc son but, en fait, c'est pas de se mettre de l'avant, mais de donner une voix à ces femmes, à tous ces défenseurs des droits de la personne qui sont encore emprisonnés. Donc plus de traduction il y aura, meilleur ce sera pour la cause des droits de la personne. Mais la traduction que j'ai est bancale, donc il nous faudrait, avis aux intéressés, on aimerait avoir un éditeur avec une traduction professionnelle. Oui.
Rima, j'aimerais vous demander, vous avez dit avant ce livre, vous avez fait une entrevue avec Shaparak quand elle était à Montréal, puis vous avez écrit ça pour la presse. Est-ce qu'il y avait un grand nombre de Québécois ou des francophones qui ont réagi à cet article? Je sais qu'il y a un grand intérêt dans les droits des femmes au Québec. C'était quoi votre réponse à ce premier article que vous avez écrit? La
réponse était très positive. Des gens très, très impressionnés par par son courage. Donc, pour rappeler les choses, en fait, donc Shaparak, elle a été arrêtée et condamnée à 20 ans de prison, dont 2 ans ferme, pour simplement avoir voulu être libre. Donc, c'est voilà le titre du livre, La liberté n'est pas un crime. Elle a simplement, de façon très courageuse, descendu dans la rue. Elle a mis son voile au bout d'un bâton et elle a manifesté. Et bon, la plupart des gens, peut-être après s'être fait arrêter une première fois, se seraient dit, bon, je vais laisser tomber parce qu'elle avait quand même une belle vie assez confortable en Iran, donc elle avait beaucoup à perdre. Et donc, mais elle a persisté, donc malgré les arrestations, l'intimidation, les menaces, même un juge qui a dit que je vais te faire pendre, rien de moins. Donc, elle a quand même persisté. Donc, ce courage extraordinaire, évidemment, c'est venu toucher les gens, les lecteurs québécois. Donc, c'était des réponses très, très, très positives. Bon, ce livre parle du combat pour en fait, contre le voile obligatoire en Iran. C'est sûr que nous, ici, au Québec, on a beaucoup de débats aussi. Le voile est un sujet qui polarise. Mais ce qui est intéressant dans cette histoire-là, c'est vraiment, en fait, ce que revendique Shaparak, c'était vraiment la liberté de choix. Hein. Il s'agit pas de démoniser le choix personnel de femmes qui choisissent de porter le voile, mais il s'agit de revendiquer, de dire que si on est libre de le porter, on est libre de l'enlever. Donc les réponses ont été très, très positives et j'espère que les gens vont être intéressés à en savoir plus sur son histoire parce que c'est une histoire impressionnante et ça, il y a des gens qui l'ont lu qui m'ont dit est-ce que c'est un roman parce qu'il y a tellement de rebondissements que on se dit bon ça se peut pas mais oui c'est pas un roman, c'est arrivé comme ça et c'est vraiment une histoire, c'est vraiment un récit haletant. Moi, j'étais au fil des longues entrevues que j'ai fait à Shaparak, à chaque fois, j'arrivais pas à croire que tout ce qu'elle a vécu. Donc, c'est vraiment une histoire qui mérite d'être lue, d'être entendue.
Merci, Rima. Moi, je vais faire un commentaire. Je sais que ce livre va sortir en France et comme le Québec, le débat public sur le voile obligatoire, c'est vraiment élevé en France. Alors, j'ai hâte de voir comment le livre sera vu par le public en France et s'il y a beaucoup d'intérêt dans le livre. So, Shaparak, we were just talking about, about your story and the importance of this book in highlighting not just your story, but also the plight of women in Iran and human rights general in Iran. And we're starting to get some questions coming in, but I would like to maybe invite you now to talk a bit about, you're now in Canada, but what's happening in Iran. Just because you've sought safety and you're now pretty safe in Canada, but the case is not like that in Iran. There are many people still struggling, women, human rights, lawyers. So could you maybe give us a couple minutes and tell us about what is happening now in Iran?
For some people who decided to immigrate to other countries to have a better life, or even for some people who escaped their countries to be to go to other countries to be safe, is one thing, and for some people from some countries like Iran, it's another story. I am safe here. I'm free to fight for freedom and women's rights in Iran, but at the same time, we are not happy. Like every day in Iran, every day we have some horrible news. Every day we cannot enjoy even one day. We cannot enjoy life even for one day, because every day you hear another horrifying news from Iran. Every day we have some arrests, we have executions. Every week we have executions. We have I don't know how to express myself. The situation in Iran is not just around politics, it's about human rights, and they are violating like people's rights every day. And I always say, hearing about human rights violation, hearing about cruelty and brutality is something, and like feel it and experience it, even for half a day, is another thing. You will be changed after having that experience. Like before that, I was living in Iran. I was living under fear. Always, when women are out, they're not safe. We are not like other people. When we see a police officer in other cities, we feel safe. But in Iran, we are afraid of, women are always afraid of being caught by some people, by the police or the leaders, supporters. Everyone can insult you in the streets. It was another experience. I was living in that time. I was living in fear. I was fed up with like pretending that everything is normal. But I was hearing about the news, about the courtrooms, about the trials, about the prisons, but experience it, like being in those interrogations room, being interrogated by those evil people. I cannot say that they are like some kind of religious people who are mad at you. They are evil people who just want to destroy you, and they tell you that. They tell you in your face that we're going to do anything in our power to destroy you. We're gonna send you to execution, and they actually do that to some people. Being there and experiencing that, like being as a woman, being insulted, being with bad words, with slut shaming, feeling that is different. Beating up by several people and being helpless is different. Not having anyone to help you. I had a lawyer. I had my family. I knew that my like during the interrogation in that building, I knew that my husband, my brother, my father were in the streets, like waiting for me. I knew them. I knew that they were there. They wouldn't leave me there. But at the same time, no one could help me. And and inside prison also, there is no law. They can do anything with you without any reason. They sent me to solitary confinement. My interrogation was over, but they sent me to solitary confinement. I was begging for a piece of paper to read because I was going mad. I had anxiety attacks. I was banned from calling even my son. I was worried about him. That's the case. And like the second time they arrested me with my husband, and I was begging them the whole day, please let me call someone and tell them that my son is alone at home. Someone has to like go and get my son. He's alone. But they didn't let us call anybody. They don't care about even a kid. And the third time I was arrested, I saw that they are ready to even traumatize my. Actually traumatized my son. And after that, when you hear about like these things in the news, you will shake. And you know what's going on. I was on hunger strike once for a week, and the second time for 9 days. So I knew what it's like not to have food, not to have water. And hearing that my lawyer, Nasrin Sotoudeh, being on hunger strike, this time a month ago, for 47 days, I was like, how is it possible? And she did that because of months and months and months of being not just herself, all the activists being ignored. And during the pandemic, she sacrificed her life for the release of all the activists and political prisoners and prisoners of conscience. And she was on hunger strike for 47 days. And all the time I was like, what if anything happens to her? Everybody around the world, they were concerned. But the governments, none of the officials of the Iranian governments said a word. Can you believe it? They are claiming, they tell the world that they care about Iranian people, but none of the officials, none of the diplomats, they didn't say a word about her being on hunger strike for 47 days. And now she is suffering from shortage of breath. She's suffering from heart problems. And like a few days ago, they were expecting, like the whole world were talking about her well-being, and they were asking the government, many organizations, many like the UN asked the Iranian government to release her or provide the medical care. And when we were expecting her to transfer to hospital, they transferred her to Karchak prison. I was in that prison. I don't have a word to describe the situation of women in that filthy. Oh my God, I cannot. It's like some of the movies. You cannot. They sent her to that prison with these problems. Every day we have problems. Every day we have news of arresting some new activists in Iran. We cannot enjoy our life anymore. The situation of human rights is getting worse and worse, and unfortunately the international community, the UN, like the Democrats, the Western countries, still don't do anything. Just making, like, having statements and like asking nicely from this like oppressive regime is not helpful. They have proved it. The world has to do something about the situation of human rights in Iran. We are doing our best, but we are helpless unless, like, the world come to support Iranian people and support Iranian activists.
Shaparak and Rima. Sorry, I was going to speak both in English and French at the same time. C'est pas possible. We have some questions coming in, well, there's actually two questions from Graham Barber. He's asking Shaparak, for you specifically, I think, or Rima can chime in French. I think it's worth. He's asking, what are the exact crimes you committed? Alors, c'est quoi les crimes que tu as commis, Shaparak? Il veut comprendre pourquoi l'État iranien était contre toi. They want to understand why the Iranian government was against you. And they also would like to know, what can Canada do? You know, what can Canada do? Anything? You've talked about the UN, just statements, and governments not really do. Can Canada do anything concrete? Alors, je vais répéter en français si Rima veut aussi parler de ça, mais c'est plutôt la politique, pas le journalisme, mais je veux savoir, c'est quoi les crimes dont Shaparak il était mis en prison? C'est quoi exactement, selon le gouvernement iranien? Et est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose que le gouvernement canadien peut faire pour aider les femmes et pour aider les gens qui travaillent pour les droits de la personne en Iran? Alors, so I'd like to maybe start with you, Shaparak. What were the crimes that you're claimed, and then what can Canada do?
Like according to Iranian law, I didn't do like much of a crime. I protested compulsory hijab, which is a law, compulsory hijab in Iran, and women can like persecuted for like not having hijab in public, but the penalty what for that crime is something else, is like a fine or like a few months in prison, that you can buy that time like by paying money. But for us, and even in their law, in like Islamic, in their book, in the book of law of Islamic regime, protesting peacefully is not a crime. So we protested compulsory hijab, and but at first I was accused of being a spy for other countries. I was accused of propaganda against the government. But at the end, because I didn't do any of that, but they didn't have any proof to pin something on me. But for like protesting compulsory hijab, I was sentenced to 20 years, 2 years prison, and 18 years of suspension. It means if I did that again, I would like spend another 18 years in prison. But even that sentences is not according to their law, because at the end they accused me of encouraging prostitution, and being unwed, protesting in the streets, being unwell, it's different from encouraging prostitution. But after us, like they arrested some people in that time. But after that, when in Iran, no matter what, if you say something, even in social media, if you comment something about human rights, everything is political. And so the women who arrested after me, my close friend Mushgan, Monire, Yasaman, Sabah, all these women who are now in jail, they are also charged with propaganda against the government. Also Nasrin, my lawyer. The only crime that my lawyer Nasrin committed was defending her clients in courtrooms, just that. And sometimes when not sometimes, all the time, when she knew that there's no there's no fair trial, there is no justice in the courtrooms, so she would tell the public about our cases and bring the justice in public eye. But she was sentenced to 38 years of prison and 148 lashes. That's it. And you're about the second question, what Canada can do. When I came to Canada, I had no idea what's the political and diplomatic relations between these two countries. I'm grateful. I'm happy that the Canadian government stopped having any diplomatic relations with this evil, oppressive regime years ago, because of the crimes against humanity during 80s. At the same time, this is not something. This is something that everybody knows. There are lots of Iranian lobbyists who are living in Canada. There are lots of lots of authorities have connections in Canada. Their family members are living in Canada. They are they are having their monies they have their monies here, and they're doing their best to intimidate the activists here and the work of human rights defenders in Canada against Iran. And there were two motions in Canadian Parliament. One, Magnitsky sanctions, to sanctions 19 architects of human rights violations in Iran. Most of them are the judges who are the real criminals. They are the judges who send innocent people, activists, to executions. They have numerous executions and violation of human rights. Some of the ministers, for example, the Minister of Communications, he again last year during demonstration in November, he was the one who shut down the internet during the time that they were killing innocent people in the streets. And this motion had the vote in the parliament, but still the Canadian government, I don't know why, hasn't implemented this Magnitsky sanction. This is one of the steps that Canada can have toward human rights in Iran. And the other thing is the imposing sanction on the Revolutionary Guard for the crimes against humanity in Iran and also in Middle East. Everybody knows lots of the things that are happening around the world. Lots of these extremists who are killing people. We didn't have that before 1979, but I don't know why the world has been ignorant about it. A few days ago, a teacher got killed because of talking about the freedom of expression. Do you know who was the first one who ordered killing another person for insulting the Prophet Muhammad? It was Khomeini. He was the first one who ordered to kill another human being for having an opinion about Islam. And now it's been going on for years. The Revolutionary Guard is spending Iranian people's money to support the terrorist group around the world, and especially in the region. And everybody knows that. But I don't know why no one would do anything about this terrorist group. And we really want Canada to impose sanctions on Revolutionary Guards, because they are transferring money. They are I don't know what's the phrase for that. They are transferring they are money laundering. They are money laundering, and Canada knows that. Everybody knows that.
Thank you, Shaparak. So for those that you don't know, the Magnitsky sanctions are economic sanctions against individuals and governments for responsible for human rights abuses. So it's been very active in Canada, is starting to use them. I think as use them in Belarus, but it's a policy tool. Rima, il ne reste pas beaucoup de temps. Le temps a passé très vite. Je sais qu'on doit quitter à peu près 7 minutes, mais je pense que ce serait très important de vous demander semblable question que Shaparak avait répondu. Le nom de votre livre, c'est « La liberté n'est pas un crime ». Et il y a beaucoup de gens qui disent « C'est quoi le crime que Shaparak a commis ?» Alors, pouvez-vous expliquer ça en français? Pourquoi elle a été arrêtée et pour quelles raisons?
Oui, bien sûr. Ben, en fait, donc, ce que Shaparak expliquait, c'est que, officiellement, elle a enlevé son voile en public, elle a incité d'autres femmes à se libérer, mais le fait est, donc, elle a été condamnée à 20 ans de prison, dont deux enfermes, mais il y a eu, on a fabriqué des accusations. Donc, toutes les femmes en ce moment qui sont en prison en Iran pour avoir commis un crime semblable à un crime, entre guillemets, ben, en fait, on a monté des accusations contre elles. Donc, incitation à la corruption, prostitution, incitation à la prostitution. Donc, ce sont des accusations fabriquées de toutes pièces.
Merci beaucoup, Rima. Shaparak, we have another question coming in here, and it might be our last, if not our second last. And it's someone's asking, do you experience some intimidation or threats even in Canada? I'm wondering if you feel comfortable talking about this, or if you can give a general response to this question.
Yes, it's been more than it's been 2 years. In December 2018, I was invited to the Canadian Parliament to testify about the human rights violation in Iran, and also to ask the Canadian government about to impose to implement the Magnitsky sanction. And after the day after that, some of the people who are supporting Iranian government, especially right now the Iranian Canadian Congress in Canada is supporting the Iranian government. They lied in the news about me being in Canada in the Canadian Parliament, and they said I asked Canada to put sanction on the Iranian people. I was there to support the Magnitsky sanction. It's a targeted sanction against those individuals, but they lied about it. And also they lied, they spread lots of lies about Professor Kotler. So after 1 day, the threats started. I had many threatening emails, and since then I was under lots of attacks on social media till this day. And also I had lots of threats. They threatened my family, my son, my husband, and also my parents in Iran got interrogated by the security forces after I went to Canadian Parliament. And they make lies, they spread lies, and also there are some people who pretend to be from opposition groups, but they are related to Iranian security forces. They are making they even in social media they said they try to make living a hell for me in Canada. And unfortunately, yesterday, one of the Iranian Canadians got killed at home. I don't know if you've heard the news, but he was a friend. I knew him. I wasn't close to him, but I met him several times in gatherings against the government. He was a great soul, a gentle guy, a kind person, and his heart was beating for Iran. And he was fighting the Iranian lobbyists in Canada, and he was fighting for freedom in Iran. And 2 nights ago, we don't know why, he was stabbed with knives at home. And yesterday, it was on the news, and all the activists, Iranian Canadian activists in here are we are in shock. We are grieving. We are in grief, and at the same time, we are worried. and and also yesterday, Hamed Esmailion, like one of the victims' family of the Ukrainian plane, who's been active since last year. Tragic shooting, the shooting of the Ukrainian plane by the IRGC. He's been active since to seek justice for her wife and her little daughter who got in the plane. He claimed that he received numerous threats and attacks, and we are all worried.
So Shaparak, I think it's important that as we're right on the closing note, but I think it's important that everyone hears that your story, it's still ongoing, that many other Iranians in Canada don't feel safe, and there is some intimidation going on, and I really hope the authorities will look into this, and you know that our Institute MIGS will always support you in your important work. So in closing, I'm going to say it in English and then in French. I want to thank Shaparak and Rima. Thank you so much for joining us, for sharing, Shaparak, your personal story, and Rima sharing your important work in getting her story made into a book. So La Liberté n'est pas un crime is now on sale. We're going to get the link for it, and we'll share it to everyone who signed up for this event, and we'll post it on our Twitter accounts. Et maintenant, en français, je veux vraiment remercier Shaparak et Rima. C'était un plaisir de vous accueillir aujourd'hui pour entendre qu'est-ce qui est passé derrière la production de ce livre, La Liberté n'est pas un crime. Et on a entendu aussi que certains Iraniens et Iraniennes ici au Canada, ils ont besoin de notre appui. Alors, je vous remercie et j'espère que le livre va être traduit en anglais. On va dire ça sur les médias sociaux aussi, mais vraiment, Shaparak, Rima, thank you, merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much.
Merci à vous.